Today's lecture, I am going to introduce you a play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a comedy written by the great dramatist William Shakespeare. Now I would like to introduce you the playwright William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was an English playwright, poet, and an actor widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's dramatist. He is often called England's national poet and the Bard of Avon. Shakespeare was born on April 23, 1564 in Stratford upon Avon. He died on April 23, 1616 and buried at Stratford Church. In his poems and plays, Shakespeare invented thousands of words, often combining or contorting Latin, French, and native roots. His impressive expansion of the English language, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, includes such words as archvillain, birthplace, bloodsucking, courtship, dewdrop, downstairs, fang, heartsore, hunchbacked, leapfrog, misquote, pageantry, radiance, schoolboy, stillborn, watchdog, and zany. In this way, Shakespeare invented thousands of words. Now I would like to explain the title of the play. The title of the play, which is written by William Shakespeare, the title of this play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, has both literary and social significance. The title tells the audience right away that the play is going to deal in some way with a sort of dream on a summer night. He also suggests to the audience that the play itself was merely a dream. That's why the title of this play is A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is apt for the theme of this play. Now I would like to introduce you the present one play having the title A Midsummer Night's Dream. This is a comedy. I would like to explain the meaning of comedy. A comedy is a kind of drama which is intended primarily to entertain the audience and which usually ends happily. This play also ends happily. That's why this is a comedy written by William Shakespeare and having the title A Midsummer Night's Dream. Now I would like to introduce you the characters in the play. The first one character, Puck, known as Robin Goodfellow. Puck is Oberon's jester, a mischievous and delights in playing pranks on mortals. Puck is the closet thing protagonist. His enchanting and mischievous spirit pervades the almost atmosphere of the play. Now, I would like to introduce you the second character of this play, that is, he is Oberon. Oberon, the king of the fairies. Oberon is initially at odds with his wife Titania because she refuses to relinquish control of a young Indian prince whom he wants for a night. Oberon's desire for revenge on Titania leads him to send Puck to obtain the love potion flower that creates so much of the play's confusion and farce. Now I would like to introduce you the next one character, Titania. Titania is the beautiful queen of the fairies. Titania resists the attempts of her husband Oberon to make a knight of the young Indian prince that she has been given. Titania's brief potion induced love for Nick Bottom, whose head Puck has transferred into hat of an axe yields the play's foremost example of the contrast motif. Now I would like to introduce you the next one character, and Lysander. Lysander, a young man of Athens in love with Hermia. Lysander's relationship with Hermia invokes the theme of love's difficulty. He cannot marry her openly because Aegeus, her father, wishes her to wed Demetrius. When Lysander and Hermia run away into the forest, Lysander becomes the victim of misapplied magic and wakes up in love with Helena. Now, the next one character, Demetrius. Demetrius, a young man of Athens, initially in love with Hermia and ultimately in love with Helena. The next one character, Helena, a young woman of Athens in love with Demetrius. Demetrius and Helena were once betrothed, but when Demetrius met Helena's friend Hermia, he fell in love with her and abandoned Helena. Lacking confidence in her looks, Helena thinks that Demetrius and Lysander are mocking her when the fairies' mischief causes them to fall in love with her. The next one character, Aegeus, Hermia's father, who brings a complaint against his daughter to Theseus. Aegeus has given Demetrius permission to marry Hermia, but Hermia, in love with Lysander, refuses to marry Demetrius. Aegeus' severe insistence that Hermia either respect his wishes or be held accountable to Athenian law places him squarely outside the whimsical dream realm of the forest. The next one character, Theseus. Theseus is the heroic duke of Athens. Engaged to Hippolyta, Theseus represents power and order throughout the play. He appears only at the beginning and end of the story, removed from the dreamlike events of the forest. And the next one character, Hippolyta. Hippolyta is the legendary queen of the Amazons, engaged to Theseus like Theseus. In this way, I introduce you some of the important characters in the play, which played a very important role in this play. And now in detail, I would like to explain play A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is an exploration of the themes of love, appearance and reality, order and disorder. The play consists of multiple subplots that revolve around the marriage of Theseus and Hippolyta. A Midsummer Night's Dream opens with Theseus and Hippolyta planning about their wedding, which takes place in 4 days. Theseus is upset because time is moving so slowly, but Hippolyta assures him the 4 days will quickly pass. Their relationship has not always been so loving. Theseus owns Hippolyta during a battle. While they discuss their relationship, Aegeus enters with his daughter Hermia and her 2 suitors, Lysander and Demetrius. Hermia is in love with Lysander, but her father wants her to marry Demetrius. Lysander argues that he is as good of a match as Demetrius, but Aegeus won't listen. Instead, he declares that if Hermia won't marry Demetrius, she will die. This is the law of Athens and his right as her father. Theseus agrees that Hermia should obey her father, but offers her a third option, spending her life in a nunnery. Hermia has until the day of Theseus and Hippolyta's wedding to decide upon her fate. Lysander comes up with a plan. He and Hermia can escape from Athens and its unjust laws by running away to his widowed aunt's house. Here, he and Hermia can marry and live in peace. As they discuss their plans, Helena enters. She is in love with Demetrius and wonders how Hermia managed to capture his heart. Hermia insists she hates Demetrius. She and Lysander then tell Helena about their plan to leave Athens. In a last effort to gain Demetrius' love, Helena decides to tell him of this plot, but she doesn't receive even a thank you from her cold hearted lover. Then, next one point in this play, that is play within a play. Here, one of the reference of the play within a play, that is from the Duke's palace. The scene switches to the cottage of Peter Quince, a carpenter who directs a group of amateur actors in his free time. He had chosen the play Pyramus and Thisbe to perform for Theseus' wedding and is in the process of casting roles. Nick Bottom, the weaver, is given the leading role of Pyramus, while Francis Flute, the bellows mender, wins the female lead Thisbe. The remainder of the roles are assigned, and the group plans to meet the following night at the Duke's Oak for a rehearsal. The same woods where Hermia and Lysander plan to meet on their flight from Athens. The action of the play now shifts to these fairy enchanted woods where Puck, Oberon's joker, speaks with one of Titania's fairies. The fairy recognizes Puck as the troublemaker Robin Goodfellow. They also discuss the argument between Titania and Oberon. Oberon is angry with Titania because she refuses to give him the Indian boy she is raising. While Puck and the fairy talk, Titania and Oberon enter from opposite ends of the stage. After criticizing each other's infidelities, Titania was supposedly in love with Theseus and Oberon with Hippolyta. Among others, Titania reminds Oberon that their argument has led to chaos in the natural world. Oberon says this disaster will end if she relinquishes the Indian boy, but Titania refuses. Oberon hatches a sneaky plan to get the boy back. He sends Puck out to find a plant called love in idleness, the juice of which makes any person dote on the next creature he or she sees. While Puck is out looking for this magical flower, Demetrius and Helena wander past Oberon. As usual, Demetrius insists Helena stop following him. He even vows to harm her if she doesn't leave him alone. Taking pity on Helena, Oberon instructs Puck to put some love juice in Demetrius's eyes at a moment when Helena will be the first person he sees upon waking. And that's why here we come across the title of the play, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Then next one point I am going to explain. Titania and her fairies are the next to enter the stage, with Oberon secretly following. When Titania falls asleep, Oberon squeezes the love juice in her eyes, hoping a wild beast will be the first creature she sees upon waking. In the meantime, Hermia and Lysander wander near Titania's bower. Lost in the woods, they decide to stop and rest until morning. Puck sees Lysander asleep and assumes he is the nasty Athenian Oberon told him about. He puts the love juice in Lysander's eyes, still in pursuit of Demetrius. Helena wanders past and notices the sleeping Lysander. She awakens him and he immediately falls in love with her. Cautious and heartbroken, Helena assumes Lysander is teasing her, so she runs away. Lysander follows. Hermia awakens, calling out for Lysander's help because she had just had a nightmare in which a snake ate her heart. She dashes into the woods in search of Lysander. Queen's Bottom and the other actors are the next characters to meander near Titania's bower. As they rehearse Pyramus and Thisbe, Puck secretly listens, appalled by their awful acting. When they rehearse Pyramus and Thisbe, Puck secretly listens, appalled by their awful acting. Deciding Bottom is the worst in the bunch. Puck gives him an ass head. When Bottom saunters out of the woods to deliver his lines, the other actors fly from him in fear. Bottom is unaware of the transformation and walks unworriedly through the woods, singing as he passes her bower. Bottom awakens Titania, who immediately falls in love with him. Puck explains all of these events to Oberon, who is pleased with the way his plan has turned out. Indeed, everything seems perfect until Demetrius and Hermia walk past. Hermia, believing Demetrius has harmed Lysander, who has mysteriously disappeared. Oberon realizes that Puck has anointed the wrong Athenian with the love juice. With this mistake, Oberon sends Puck in search of Helena, hoping to charm Demetrius' eyes when she appears. Now, both Lysander and Demetrius are in love with Helena. Adding much to Puck's amusement at the foolishness of mortals, Helena still believes they are teasing her. When Hermia honestly and confusedly says she knows nothing about the sudden switch in Lysander's feelings, Helena believes she is simply playing dumb. In her opinion, her three friends are laughing at her. Before a serious fight breaks out between Demetrius and Lysander, Oberon has Puck creates a fog. Oberon and Puck create a fog that will keep the lovers from finding one another. While they are sleeping, Puck reverses the spell on Lysander. He also casts a spell so none of the lovers will remember what has happened in the woods. In the meantime, Oberon returns to Titania's bower in search of the Indian boy. Titania willingly releases him because she only has eyes for Bottom. Oberon's plan is now complete, and he is disgusted to see his queen in love with an ass, so he releases her from the spell. Then Titania awakens and tells Oberon about her strange dream of being in love with an ass. Oberon has Puck remove the ass head from bottom. Now that Oberon has won the Indian boy from Titania, he is willing to forget their argument, and the two reunited dance off together so they can bless Theseus' marriage. Then morning has arrived, and Theseus, Hippolyta, and the Aegeus are walking through the woods. Theseus suddenly spies and sleeping lovers and imagines that they woke early to observe the rite of May. When the lovers are awakened, Demetrius confesses that he now loves Helena. Theseus decides the other lovers should be married along with him and Hippolyta. As they return to the palace, the scene shifts to Bottom. Just awakening from his dream, Bottom declares he will have Queen's write a ballad about it called Bottom's Dream because it has no bottom. Queens and the other actors haven't forgotten their missing friend Bottom. They worry Pyramus and Thisbe won't be able to go on without him, which saddens them because Theseus is known for his generosity and they might have been rewarded with a lifelong pension for their performance. As they lament this lost opportunity, Bottom suddenly returns. His friends wants to hear his story, but Bottom tells them there isn't time for that. They must prepare for the play. In conclusion, I would like to say that this play has come full circle and all of the cast returns to the palace where Theseus and Hippolyta discuss the strange tale the lovers have told them about the events of the previous evening. The joyous lovers enters. The Theseus decides it is time to plan the festivities for the evening. Of all the possible performances, the play Pyramus and Thisbe turns out to be the most promising. Theseus is intrigued by the paradoxical summary of the play, which suggests it is both merry and tragical, tedious and brief. The players finally present their play, that is having the title Pyramus and Thisbe. Hippolyta is disgusted by their pathetic acting, but Theseus argues that even the best actors create only a brief illusion. The worst must be assisted by an imaginative audience. The play ends with Pax's final speech, in which he apologizes for the weakness of the performance and promises that the next production will be better. In this way, this present play, which is written by the great dramatist William Shakespeare, the title of this play is A Midsummer Night's Dream, containing the themes of love, appearance, reality, order, and disorder, having some comic incidents, comic speeches. That's why this is a comedy in the English literature. Thank you.